What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. Okay, I do want to talk about some of the guys that you've coached against, especially a lot of them are on offense, and you're a defensive guy. I don't want to bring up a bad memory, but Ashton Jeanty.
That's a bad memory right there, John. It is. It's the way it is.
Just talk to me because he's a hot topic. I mean, he looks from Boise State has a chance to go in the top 6 or 7 picks. He had a huge day against you guys, and you're a good defense. But I mean, in fairness, he did that against everybody. He did that against Oregon, who was the #1 team in the country. From a game planning perspective, what did you see against him, and then what in the game were you blown away by?
We really underestimated his speed. Okay. And I go back to the Oregon tape and you're watching him run away from those guys, and you're just kind of watching it. And his contact balance is elite. Okay. He is about, feels like 5'8", but he is a bowling ball of athleticism and power and speed. So he broke more tackles on us, I think, than he did on anybody else, statistically speaking. And it was his contact balance, the way he finishes. And when he's out in the open in space, you're not catching him. Right. So it was a unique challenge of trying to find ways. And we were in that game and he broke 2 big fourth quarter, touchdown runs that just put us away. And it's a unique talent. But once again, a guy that trusted the process. The year before, I mean, you're talking about a backup tailback, right? And for him to burst on the scene, they always knew they had that type of talented player, and to kind of see it all the way through, I think it is good for college football.
I mean, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Travis Hunter, Shador. Is it safe to say he was the best player in your 3+ years there at Washington State that you went against?
We went against Caleb Williams. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of all the other players.
Yeah.
It was a quarterback.
McMillan at Arizona, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would put Caleb Williams up there I mean, and we held him under 300 yards passing, and I don't know if anyone did that year. He was just an incredible talent to do it. Genty's right up there. Penix, I still think the offensive line at Washington that year was just phenomenal, all those players. So he's right up there, and he deserves everything that's coming his way. And, obviously, I know, Coach Danielson over there a little bit just speaks to his character, and I think all those things put together, he's right up there as far as the toughest people we've had to defend.
Someone asked me about a comp with Cam Ward. Do you think there are some similarities in the way they play with Caleb? A little different body types, but
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's the one thing Cam, we do these scouting deals, and everyone after the 22 season was like, hey, we got to get his body in order, and he did that. I think the escapability to where off script, defensive coordinators can come in with all these fancy plans, right? This is how we're going to run this coverage, this coverage, this coverage. But when those guys break down and they play off script, there's no defense for that. And I think that's what makes the quarterbacking special. It's the #1 thing when we start to dive into taking a quarterback, we make an off script tape. That's what makes you elite. And I think that's why Cam and the Caleb Williams, Penix was a little more pocket passer, NFL ready that way. But that what makes the special player. Like I grew up on Brett Favre, right? You're going to take a lot of the good with the bad sometimes. And Cam's that way a little bit because he's the ultimate gunslinger. Like he's going to throw it into some tight spaces, but you need that. You can't, as a head coach, say, oh, this was terrible, and then celebrate him, 4th and 6 against Oregon doing a whirling left-handed pass. It goes with it, and I think there's a style that he plays that I think is really unique.
the NBA 82 game grind is done, and now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time for the high-stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw-dropping plays. Can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in games all the way through the finals. Now, the time to back your favorite players and teams as they chase glory. All season long, DraftKings has been your go-to spot for NBA player props, and that doesn't stop now. Want to make your playoff experience even more intense? Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will Curry drop 30? Will LeBron drop 40? Or more? It's your call. Ready to place your first bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, lock in your bets, and let's make the playoff run unforgettable. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code JOHN. That's code JOHN for new customers to get 200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Me and Coward were talking about this the other day. You know, you and I are similar ages. Forever, it was the Carson Palmers, the Manning brothers, the Bradys. You've been now deep in evaluating high school football. If you look at the last 3 or 4 years, even Penix was viewed as a pocket quarterback, and then he ran like 4.52. Same
Yep.
thing with C.J.
Yep.
Stroud. It's
Yep.
like the guy that's 6'6" that can't move. Does that guy exist in high school football anymore?
He exists, he's out there, but not a lot of people are designing offense for that guy because it's hard, right? And
Would you recruit that guy?
we would not. I mean, you have to be able to. We're a big fan, John, of not having the same skill sets in the room, right? We signed a kid out of Steel Pizzella that's 5'10" and a half, ran 10.4 in high school, right? We got Deshaun Purdy that's 6'5", 225 pounds, got a rocket arm, right? So,
Why is that? Don't you want a similar skill set historically? Like,
you know what? We really don't, right? Because I think the best coaches design the offense to what they have, right? And the one trait that will always be in there is athleticism to threaten to run, right? That's the one trait, not size, but it's the athleticism to be a dual threat and flatten out the defense. And I think that's the important pieces of what they bring. Like even Cam, we'd run Cam a little bit, right? But John Mateer opened up a whole different level of the offense. So you got to be crafty and creative enough to make sure you're designing it about, whatever the best, elite trait is of your quarterback.
what I know you guys played Colorado toward the end of the season 2 years ago when the team was struggling. Was Travis healthy in that game? He was back?
He was Shador Sanders. He played for about a quarter and a half, and then he wasn't out there. And Travis Hunter is a unique skill set. Now he mossed a couple of our guys, back in the end zone and scored a couple of touchdowns. He's a unique player, obviously a unique competitor, and I'm just excited to see him do it at the next level. I think there's something that's obviously very intriguing, and the best is still in front of him.
Did you think what he did this year could be done, playing all those snaps both ways?
When it first started, I was like, this can't continue, right? And to do it at an elite level, but to be able to focus and develop, I think is hard. I think in my mind, how do you even practice this, right? So to be able to do that, I think it's so unique, and I think it's so good for college football. Now, because of that, though, I've been asked the question about playing both ways more times.
Yeah.
Guys, it doesn't happen. Like that is a once in a generational type talent that can do those type of things. So I'm just excited to see if he can continue that at the next level.
How often over the last couple of years, when some of these top quarterbacks are coming out, you're a defensive guy. Do NFL guys pick your brain about Bo Nix or Michael Penix or Shador or obviously your own guys, but the competition because the way you're heavily involved in the game plan of stopping, and you did a really good job. 2 years ago, I looked at the scores against Oregon and against Washington. I mean, Washington played in the final, and what was the score there? 24-21 or something a couple years ago.
Yeah, you're really laying
I'm
on me
sorry to
there,
bring up
John.
bad
That was
numbers.
a tough Apple
You,
Cup
you
right
won the
there.
Apple Cup this year.
We had the ball with 3 minutes left. I thought Cam was going to go down there and lead us to victory. It just didn't
I was
happen.
watching.
There's a lot of people that ask about it. I thought it was a unique time, even in that league, right? That last year, the Pac-12, to have all that type of talented quarterbacks. Yeah, they do. They kind of, hey, how do you see this guy? What's Bo Nix's greatest strength? And the best part is, like you said, they're all different skill sets. They're all unique. But I think quarterbacking is something where you got to sit down, the guy in the room, and you got to be able to understand like what makes that guy tick, right? And you got to be able to coach them to their strengths and their abilities. So trying to take away their best thing that they do is always something that we focused on. Try to make them uncomfortable. Like Penix, we knew if we could actually move his feet, the analytics said his completion percentage drops from like he was 78% down to like 52. So the whole game plan was about getting pressure in his face. And we went out there and I thought executed one play short. Credit to Kalen DeBoer. He went for it on 4th and 1 on his own 27-yard line with the reverse. So it was a hell of a game.